I'm joined tonight by two experts on climate change with two very different points of view. Steve Cochran is director of the National Climate Campaign. William Yeatman is an energy policy analyst for the Competitive Enterprise Institute. Gentlemen, good to have both of you with us. I'll let you both first weigh in, if you will, on what you are taking away from the agreement which was announced tonight. And Steve, I'll start with you. Good first step. Important to continue to talk. It brings China to the table. They have to be there. It sets up some pretty impressive steps to help protect rainforests around the world. And most importantly, it doesn't bind the U.S. To do anything other than what we need to do, which is to come home, focus in the Senate, and actually get our own house in order so we can move forward. And is that enough in terms of getting our own house in order, William, moving forward?
I'm sorry, were you speaking to me?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that enough to move this bill forward in the Senate? I doubt that. President Obama called this a meaningful and unprecedented agreement, but that's the same sort of diplomatic mumbo-jumbo that comes out of all these climate confabs. All they did was agree to continue to meet. There's no, it's all sizzle and no steak. So will this give an impetus to the climate bill, the cap and trade bill in the Senate? I seriously doubt that. Is there anything you think that would give real impetus, that would give a push to make changes here in the U.S. that would be not only passable in Congress, but palatable to the American people? No, I don't see any, well, certainly not in the international stage. I mean, remember what the stakeholders are demanding. I mean, we've got developing countries demanding climate reparations, scores of billions of dollars. Note that word, reparation, with the disgusting insinuation that emissions somehow can be equated with slavery and slavery reparations and whatnot. So I don't think there's anything palatable on the table for the American people, and I certainly don't think it's giving any a boost to climate legislation in Congress. Steve, I'm guessing that you don't share that point of view, nor that essentially what I'm hearing is that in your view that Copenhagen was a waste of time. Steve, that's not exactly your take. You feel that there really was something that came out of this. Well, it's important, you know, as you know really well, and some of the stories on just before this make clear how global a problem this is and how essential it is for the world to work together. So the efforts to try to do that, as complicated as they can be, as hard as they can be, are very essential in order for us to be successful. Now, in terms of the U.S. Senate, the U.S. Senate is going to do what it ought to do, which is to make its judgment based on domestic considerations. They absolutely have to have an eye to the world and how we're effective in the world, but they're going to make their votes cast on how it's going to affect folks at home and what it's going to mean to them in terms of their jobs, in terms of our dependence on foreign oil, cleaner air, cleaner water, those kinds of terms. And so that's going to be the debate going forward. The good news, I think, and this really doesn't have that much to do with Copenhagen, is that the Senate is planning on talking about this, actually bringing it up and voting on it sometime in the spring, and that's when we can have this discussion and have it in a real meaningful way, so we can see if the U.S. really can begin to move forward here. And how important is, and William, I'll throw this to you, when it comes to having that discussion, which ultimately will be had, no matter where you stand on the issue, because it needs to be discussed, how important, though, is conveying the fact that these changes don't happen overnight, that there does need to be some patience, perhaps, when it comes to these changes to see whether or not they're actually effective? Well, when will that patience run out? Remember, this is... But has that even been conveyed at this point? I mean, do you think people understand that? I mean, we live in a very immediate society. Do you think people understand that this isn't something that happens really with the signing of a bill, but it's going to take some time? Is that being conveyed properly? Conveyed properly? I mean, I'm not sure about that. The facts on the ground are that the nations of the world have been negotiating for 2 decades on an international climate pact, and they're no nearer today than they were 2 decades ago when they started. The fundamental problem of who is going to pay to cure the climate of its supposed ills is still very much present. So in terms of the American people needing patience, what they see on the ground is interminable delay. So, no. No. We're going to have to leave it there, gentlemen. I appreciate both of your time tonight. William Yeatman, Steve Cochran. Just because the conference is over, of course, the discussion is not. We'll continue to follow it. Thank you both. Thank you. Just ahead at the top of the hour, sitting in for Campbell Brown tonight, Rick Sanchez with us in New York. Hey, Rick.
This storm is something else, Erica.